Welcome to my channel. Well, my second channel. And welcome to a video that I am sure everybody has done by now, which is their opinions on Silent Hill: The Short Message. This is my personal thoughts, take them with a grain of salt, of course. And let's get into it. So let's start with the positives. For one, Konami and Hexadrive have made a very good-looking game. It's running on Unreal Engine 5, which what game isn't these days? And as you can see from the stream visuals in the background, it's quite a nice-looking game. Everything looks quite realistic, and even the more stylized elements look quite convincing. The performance was mostly stable. I do believe I received a very, very occasional frame drop here and there, but it was barely noticeable, like 99% of the time, so that wasn't too bad. The first digital sequence where the glitching happens and you enter to be chased, that transition did cause a bit of trouble. But apart from that, the game runs quite smoothly, it looks great, and the art direction is solid. It's a Silent Hill game. But that does tie into one of the issues as well, but we'll get to that later. Other good points are the sound design. The sound design is great, it's spooky, it builds tension, the monster does the whole digital static hissing thing, which, does serve to build tension. It's quite nerve-wracking to have this constant digital droning in the background chasing you down a hallway. And that is my thoughts on the graphics and the sound. So, we've covered the graphics and sound in brief detail. The graphics are honestly just best shown and demonstrated by the footage on the screen. The sound design, I mean, you can watch the stream to get the best idea, but just imagine and this is going to sound not the most complimentary, but really any solid first-person walk around and get spooked horror game. And that's really what the sound design is. It's really good at building tension, and the monster sounds are panic-inducing, but there is nothing revolutionary in there. It's solid for what it is, but it's nothing you haven't heard before. I will say the monster design is quite unique, though, with the cherry blossoms being part of the design, which is thematically tied to the main character, or the main character's friend. But let's talk about gameplay. So, the game is a radical departure from other Silent Hill games. It's no longer a third-person game, it is first-person. And there is a distinct feeling of Konami liking what was done with PT, but since they couldn't use PT, because if they, obviously, I mean, they could have, but if they'd gone ahead with the project, it would have been not the best in the public eye. But they seem to have taken some ideas from it, at the very least. The gameplay, for example, with the first-person view, and all you can do is walk and interact with various objects. It's very, horror walking simulator, which, again, we've seen before in PT as a teaser for the next Silent Hill, and then there's now this, which is first person, very much a sort of horror walking kind of simulate a horror game. You can't defend yourself, you can only find objects and run away from the bad guy. So the gameplay has changed drastically. Now, I'm going to give my opinion on that. It is certainly a choice. I don't think that how do I put this? First person can be really effective, right? It can be really good at building tension and causing, scares, right? But the problem I have with it is the fact that after having such a well-received trailer, like a playable teaser for an upcoming Silent Hill, to then cancel that and then come out with your own first-person Silent Hill that is a notably weaker entry in the series compared to that teaser. It is certainly a decision. I will say that much. Okay, now with those somewhat positive thoughts out of the way, let's talk about the elephant in the room here. The fact that there's no Silent Hill relation, and that there was an attempt. So first off, yes, the game is not set in Silent Hill, it is set in a German town called Kettenstadt. It is a German town inhabited by seemingly Japanese residents who all speak Japanese, except are dubbed over in English, which lends it a very bit of an uncanny vibe. So that's not a great start. There's no tie to Silent Hill, except for one article which talks about a Silent Hill effect, where people see fog and they have an urge to descend into it, either like jumping off things like that. So, just to get that out of the way, there is no direct Silent Hill relation. Now, about the story. Now, this is going to spoil things, so I do apologize in advance. Either watch a playthrough or play it yourself, and then come back if you haven't watched it already. So, I understand what they were trying to do. They wanted to tackle modern-day horror and modern-day themes and concerns. So, smartphones, almost a pathological need for attention and positive adoration online, and bullying, things like that. I get that. They didn't succeed though, because first off, the main character sucks, because we're made to see her in a sympathetic light, and then it just turns out, yeah, actually, Anita was responsible for Maya's conduct, because she, had decided to not pass on a letter that what is described as a close friend had written to her, saying that they wanted to, move on and all that. And she was like, nah, you're too close to my friend, we're not going to do it. So, screw the main character. But the story tries to engender sympathy by portraying bullying in a light that it's bad. And we know bullying's bad. We know that saying bad things about people and harassing them and tearing them down is not good. We know that. The problem is that the previous Silent Hills have been somewhat symbolic, somewhat suggestive rather than out and out in your face, this is a thing. So when you're in a school flashback and one of the sort of shadow students is like, your art is terrible, your art sucks. It's like, yes, they would say that, but for a game about psychological horror and, coming to terms with what you've done, it's a very heavy-handed and, look, this is the bad thing kind of way of doing it. So I'm not too fond of that. And the story as well is kind of nothing. And I say that the story's nothing because I'm going to summarize it, okay? I'm going to summarize the story. Like, the previous Silent Hills were very like, oh, what happened in the past, This one, I get it's a short story, but it's really not much of a story. She's trapped in what is ostensibly Silent Hill's otherworld, except it barely looks like it. There's a monster, okay, great. And she's getting contacted by Maya and Anita. Maya being her very close friend, quotations, and Anita being another quote-unquote close friend. And it really just boils down to Maya removed herself from the gene pool by leaping from the roof. And then she still gets publicity and all that because she's deceased. So everyone's like, oh my god, that's so sad. Memories of Maya. Everyone check out her stuff. So Anita gets jealous and jumps off too. Then you wake up again, cycle restarts, everything's a bit different, and then it turns out, oh no, Miss Perfect Maya actually got bullied. Who would have thought? And then it's like, oh no, maybe Anita and... I said Anita and Anita, didn't I? Sorry, it was Anita and Maya and Amelie. My apologies. I'm keeping that in. So, Maya was bullied, and then it turns out that Maya and Amelie were very close, and as far as Anita was concerned, Maya was taking Amelie away from her. Which, little concerning when you're that tight gripped on someone that they can't be friends with someone else. But anyway. So she gets, remembers that she was jealous and she felt that Maya was ignoring her. And then she finds a letter saying, hey, it's Maya. And Maya's writing the letter to Amelie saying, hey, I need help, I need support, I need guidance. I need to get through this. And Anita decided in her infinite wisdom, no, I'm not going to give it to her. Because she was jealous. Which she believes led to Maya jumping ship, so to speak. Then she goes up to the roof and then is like, oh no. Hey, Amelie, I'm so sorry that I caused Maya to leave us. And then she decides to spelunk off the edge. Which then, again, cycle restarts. Turns out family trauma happened. Which, yes, that's sad, but okay. Which, I'm gonna be honest, I was going to go on a tangent here. The family abuse part seemed entirely unnecessary because we've already got the central theme, which is Anita and Amelie meet Maya. Maya takes a shine to both of them. Maya and Amelie become a lot closer than Maya and Anita. And up until that point, the whole thing's been, I'm jealous about how close they are. And then suddenly it's, oh no, Anita actually was neglected and abused. And her younger brother died. I shouldn't laugh at it. But it's just so 0 to 100. Like, okay, you're trapped in a cycle due to your guilt. And oh, actually your brother died. And his body was hid in a refrigerator. Okay. That's cool, I guess. But anyway, so that ended up with her reporting her mum to the police, and then she goes through the cycle again and finds an artwork with her in it, and he's like, oh my god, Maya didn't ignore me after all. I was just thinking she was. Wow. Then she gets chased back on the roof and then says sorry to Amelie for not, recognizing that they're actually friends. And she's about to jump off again, and then it's like, hey, let's go shopping. Let's catch up and talk. Which stops her jumping and takes her out of Silent Hill. Like the other world. And I know that the other world dissipating due to acceptance is kind of a thing. Like, I know in Silent Hill 2, when you accepted what you'd done, it wasn't okay, you're over. Like, it's just over. You still had to get through the rest of it with that knowledge. But in this one, it just ends. It just ends. That's it. Yeah. That's the story. So that's how that's a summary of the story and how I feel about that. One other thing that I do have issue with is it's tied very much to the changing gameplay. And that is the chase sequences. It's something done in a lot of these walking simulator horror games, You walk through a door or into a certain area, the enemy shows up, and you have to run away to get to like a certain door or some sort of hatch or something to escape. It's done a lot, and if any horror series was going to put a twist on it, you would think it'd be Silent Hill, right? With the whole psychological horror aspect, you would imagine that there would be some sort of unique twist. But there isn't. Your vision starts to glitch, you open the door, you're thrust into a chase sequence, it catches you, you die. You just run down hallways that all look pretty much exactly the same, and just hope that you take the right turns to get to the end to do more story. That's it. That's the chase sequences. That's the threat in this the short message. Now, the first chase sequence it's intense, and you do genuinely think, "Oh wow, this is keeping me on my toes." Then you get to the second one and the other one, and it's just there's one where you have to lure it away from its doorway. so that you can go through. And that's hard enough given, it's kind of hard to remember what connects with what when it's just a loop. But the last one, the last one. It is so bad. So it's a chase sequence with a chained door that you can forget. You can forget the way to get to it. So your objective is a chained door, and the way to unlock the chains is to collect photographs, which are strewn throughout the chase area, except there's no directions as to what photo is where. There's no map. And you are being chased the entire time, and all the hallways look pretty much the same. It is one of the worst, walking sim horror sequences I think I've seen in a while. And that's not great. Not a great thing to have to say about Silent Hill, one of the titans of horror, really. To have it reduced to something that is considered derivative and tiresome is just sad. But that is my opinion on that. I'm sure some people love the chase sequences. I'm sure they love constantly going, round and round and round and round. But I did not. Finally, some other assorted thoughts that I couldn't fit into the other roughly structured segments. Yes, those parts were structured, I know. This is mostly off the cuff. It's just re-recorded when I really screwed it up, so there you go. So one of the mercies of the short message is that it is true to its name. It's a short game. It took me about a bit under 3 hours. Maybe 2 hours 30, 2 hours 40. And that was with repeated failures in the chase sequences. So with that in mind, if you're any good at chase sequences, you can probably do it better, in a short amount of time. But even if you suck like I do, it won't take you that long. Also, it is free. It seems more of a tech demo more than anything. Because, again, it's using Unreal Engine 5. It's testing the new viewpoint. It's completely removed from Silent Hill as a whole. So it does seem more of a technical demo or some sort of proof of concept, so to gauge interest and see how it works in regard to the wider series mythos. And in that regard, I guess that makes sense. You got to test the waters with these things, but I don't know. It's short. It costs nothing. But I don't know. I am not fond of it. I'm not a massive horror fan anyway. By default, I will say I'm getting more into it. But if this is the quality of horror moving forwards and the quality of Silent Hill moving forwards, I don't think I'll be taking part. Or if I do, it'll be from a less than complimentary standpoint. So, yeah, that is how I think about that. The only other thoughts that I have on it is that I wish they had have done more with things like the monsters and stuff. If there'd been more monsters, more drawing things from the trauma that the characters had sustained, instead of just having one sort of conglomerate monster to represent everything. I think that would have been good. I think it would have also been good to have some way to sort of obviously not kill the monster. The monster doesn't die, but some way to repel the monster just to give yourself a little bit of breathing room to figure out what direction to go during the chase sequences. That would have been good too. But apart from that, that's all I really have to say on the game. Final verdict, if I had to give it a score out of, let's say out of 10, I'm probably going to give it maybe 3. Because it looks good. It plays smoothly enough. And the monster looks kind of cool, even though it is a little hard to make out what the hell it is. But those do not outweigh the issues, the many issues that the game has with storyline, ways of tackling such themes, things being really on the nose and in your face, the lack of ties to Silent Hill in general. Those far outweigh any of the good points, and yeah, not a great rebirth of Silent Hill as a whole. But that is how I feel about the game. Hope you enjoyed. If you agree, wonderful. If you don't, that's totally fine. See you next one. Later.